Assalamu alaikum. This podcast has been brought to you by Seekers Guidance, the global Islamic seminary. Help us spread the light of prophetic guidance to millions around the world by becoming a monthly supporter. Make a small donation at SeekersGuidance.org/donate. As little as $10 a month can help people find life-changing guidance.
So if a man and woman get married, firstly, is it permissible to separate the time of nikah, of the actual marriage contract taking place, and then moving in together, right? Where you have in the subcon they call it the rukhsati, and then they have the walima, or you have the haflat al-zafaf, you have the farewell, the actual marriage ceremony where you celebrate that they're now going to be living together, right? And they give it different names. In some Arab countries, they give it pretty scandalous names, which I won't mention because it will only make sense in the context of the Arab world, like in Jordan and elsewhere. But can you separate the two? Yes, you can, even if they're years apart. Right? Even if they're years apart, you can get married. You can do the marriage contract, right? Of course, with all the requisite considerations of parental approval, etc., and have the actual moving in at a much later date. Just as two people get married and they agreed, we're never going to move in together. I mean, it's a bit silly. Why do you get married then? But that's up to the two parties. So the two things could be separate. Once they do get married, however, they are now husband and wife. Right? They are now husband and wife. If they've agreed not to live together, then people stick to their agreements. And if you can't figure it out, then you end the marriage, right? Like if they say no, like the husband says, no, I insist you move in with me. He doesn't have the right to demand that if they've agreed to the contrary beforehand, right? Like if they're in university, two people fell in love or something, first year, let's say, well, we can't move in together because they're studying in different cities or whatever. You could get married and then later you have the nikah, so you safeguard yourself against it, and move in together later. But once they're married, legally, they're husband and wife. Okay, they're legally husband and wife. Can they meet alone, etc.? Purely legally, yes, because they're now husband and wife and all the implications of that apply. However, sometimes there are customary restrictions placed in different cultures because of considerations, right? Sometimes it's not announced that they're married. They just had the private ceremony, and now for them to be, alone, etc., it could raise question marks and so on. But purely Islamically, it's permissible. What the guidelines would be in that period, they should agree in advance, right? If they've agreed in advance to them, then they hold that is like a promise that people make, so they hold themselves to it. It raises sensitivities because very often people in that situation, they get married, now they want to consummate the marriage, etc. Because usually people don't get married because they dislike each other. Typically they like each other, and hopefully they'll like each other a lot, and one thing can lead to another. Whereas parents don't want their kids to be outside their circle of direct influence, and parents get very queasy about these things. So it can lead to a lot of sensitivities. But purely legally, it is permissible. But one should think those things through beforehand, right? One should think those things through, both between the couple and also how it would interface with the two sets of parents. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you for listening. This podcast was brought to you by Seekers Guidance, the global Islamic seminary. Visit SeekersGuidance.org to access reliable Islamic knowledge taught by qualified teachers. We offer a wide range of courses, podcasts, articles, and a world-class answer service. Support us in spreading free, reliable Islamic knowledge to millions around the world by becoming a monthly supporter. Visit SeekersGuidance.org/donate and make a small monthly commitment today. Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Whoever guides someone to goodness will have a similar reward." So don't forget to share this podcast and spread prophetic guidance.